Hi. Thank you for attending today's reading. Let's begin. This is not a fun story for me. Dad's secret girlfriend, my mom, and I were joking about how this woman kept requesting to be friends on Facebook with me. She is from Colombia, where my dad visits often. My parents are divorced, but my mom offered him to stay in her house while he searches for a new house. Well, he overstayed his welcome. Anyways, I was like, let me just message her to see who she is. Well, I opened my messages to see a lot of pictures of her and my dad and a message in Spanish. Put the message in Google Translate and she basically was telling me that she has been in a relationship with my dad for a year and a half. If I were not with my mom, I would have waited to tell her, but I immediately freaked out. Initially I thought, okay, this woman is using my dad, but as I began to message her to get more answers, it became clear she wasn't. She was concerned about him cheating. Wondered why he never told me about her, and turns out everyone in her family is in the medical field. All hell broke loose in my house today and my dad is continuing to deny it. My mom has also set a date for when he has to move out. I'm shocked, frustrated, and confused. I feel betrayed and I'm upset that my mother had to go through this. Currently listening to my parents argue right now, and he's still denying it despite the proof. Feel free to ask questions because I'm sure I left a lot out on accident. Life is hell. End of story. Next story. I ran into a dumpster. End of story. Next story. Started 2020 being gay, so it's Nye and Im at the beach with my close friends. We all are drunk AF. Im talking to my friend and his GF. Let's call her G. She suggests that me and my friend should kiss in the lips to show affection, but we were like, nah fam, that's kinda gay. She then proceeds to talk non-stop to my drunk ass about how she does it to her girlfriends. Sometime later, other friend shows up with a tequila. I take some shots and start to think about what G was talking. Thinking to myself, that makes sense. So as fast as I could, I ran to my boys and gave them all a kiss on the lips. Pretty good start with you ask me. Lol. End of story. Next story. My friend's changed his cat's name so many times it's just become the cat. When new people ask him what his name is, he just says, whatever you want. 18 comments. Share. Save. Hide. Report. 98% upvoted. End of story. Next story. How I almost died of overdose as a kid. When I was about 11 or 12, I once had a really bad cold. The doctor prescribed me syrup to relieve the coughing as colds go away easily. I had to take like 3 of those mini cups that come with syrup each time I took it. I was a pretty smart kid, so my mom allowed for me to take medications without their help. It was around midnight when I remembered I forgot to take the syrup. It was supposed to be quick and then I was going to sleep after taking it. But here comes the problem. I was drowsy already. Then when I was going to take the syrup, I mistook for my father's heart pressure control B medication because I was sleepy and just didn't bother to read it. It was just slightly bigger than my syrup and I was sleepy. I took it. And the correct dose was 5 milliliters. I took around 15 milliliters because my syrup needed 3 mini cups. Result. When I got to sleep, suddenly my heart started beating like I had adrenaline in the vein. After some minutes I had spasms, involuntary movement. I wondered what until I decided to check which medication I took. I realized it was wrong and I rushed my mother's room to tell her. We didn't have a car and in my city buses stopped to circulate just at midnight. And the way my mom is, She just gave me a cup of milk and told me to sleep. Luckily I didn't die. Looking from today I could easily have a heart attack or a stroke. End of story. Next story. Adults of Reddit. What are some of the stupid things you did as a teenager? What are some of the illegal, dumb, funny, awesome things that you did in your teenage years? End of story. Next story. Sleepwalking peeing. So I'm working in Germany with a brigade of 4 guys. They are my father-in-law friends. They are much older than me, around 45 years old, while I'm 23. As usual in the weekends we would get drunk. After drinking I went to sleep and was woken up from the screams of my colleagues who were claiming that I took a piss on the floor and went to sleep. I didn't remember any of it and feel so embarrassed. Anyone has something like that happen to them? End of story. Next story. People misheard what I said BC of my accent, so I have a really thick accent. And recently I went to encamp for the university I'm going to. And we had a ceremony and had candles to hold. And we could stand up and said what we're proud of. I said, I'm a first general and I'm proud, and some people farther away laughed. And I felt really bad about it. Apparently, due to my accent, it sounded like I said, I'm a virgin. Lol. End of story. Next story. First world. From a third world perspective. Okay. Never thought I would post this, but here we go. Back when I was 13, I heard the word third world country. Same old history class again, and our teacher said that we live in a third world country. I live in India BTW. But at that time I didn't pay much attention to it. Fast forward couple of months. I saw some new neighbors moving in my neighborhood. That is where I met Ryan. Name changed. He was born and brought up in California, USA. It was rather odd to see a guy move from Cali to a semi-rural part in south of India. But hey, it was back in 2013 when the world was a better place. Grin upside down face. I was not exposed to the internet and my knowledge of the USA was mostly from watered-down Hollywood movies which I only seldom got to watch. Well, 'cause Indian cable TV. So, Ryan was about the same age as me. He said he was in 7th grade. So, basically we had great conversations. Played cricket game and had a really great time. In one of those conversations, he did talk about how it is to live in the US. And for a naive 13-year-old, it was as though he was talking about this magical land, where public utilities worked. Water was not a problem. Food was nutritious. And no freaking power cuts. I was amused by how it would be to live in a country like that. We had a decent time for 2 months and he left back for the US. I have no contact of him. I didn't have a phone. Wasn't aware of Insta handles back then. Tears of joy, tears of joy. Obviously no internet back then. But the only thing that I carry with me is great memories of the time we spent talking about how school was in both countries and playing cricket. Now, fast forward 7 years. Now 20-year-old. I am in college now studying electrical engineering. Maybe I am a bit more aware of the world. But not quite well traveled. Still haven't moved away from India. I am now exposed to the internet. And in some sense living vicariously through other people lives. In some sense. I still have thoughts on how it would be to live in suburban American life. However, I am also pretty happy with my life is now. Even though COVID is a pain. But what can I say? I do still feel like life could be better when it is 40 degrees C and 98% humidity and there is no electricity. Or when water smells like arsenic. There is always conflicting thoughts. Over time, I realized a lot of things. There are problems everywhere in many forms regardless of our place. Maybe I'm wrong, but when compared to a lot of people living a luxury and being unhappy, I am really happy. Yes, I do get depressed sometimes. For the most part. Moreover, the world becoming a village due to the advent of technology is good. But at the same time, for all the online interactions and connections with people that we have today, I could never forget how a conversation with a real human with totally different background was. Something that I could never forget. It was some of the most beautiful conversations I ever had. Because we were kids, naive, curious, and were not afraid if one person or other is offended. P.S. One day I would like to visit and other developed countries. But at the same I am extremely grateful for the life I have been given with. For loving parents and amazing friends. Sometimes I feel the live life expecting a fantasy in our heads without realizing how fantastic reality is. Thank you guys, smile. End of story. That is all for today. If you want to support my automated channel, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. See you tomorrow.